Sometimes the scariest things in Wyoming that's in the Wyoming road isn't the deer, it's something else lurking. There is this creature called a jackalope. Have you ever heard of one of those?
Now, I have heard of jackalopes. Yes, absolutely.
And
But I
those
mean,
those are pretty big in Wyoming too, but they're rare.
are they real?
That's the question. Are they real?
When you're jogging by yourself and it's a dark area and you're alone and it's quiet, you kind of feel like sometimes there's someone behind you.
It's okay to create a show as long as you don't take away from what you're trying to do,
Yes.
which is trying to bring people to the Lord and let them
Yes.
and let them grow a relationship with them and start a relationship with them. We're live. We are officially alive and ready to go for another week of Duo Jive.
Yes, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, hanging in there. Been hard at it with work over here. How you doing, Chris?
Super stinking fantastic.
I mean, for me, that's pretty familiar. Anyone
Yes.
listening that's new, there's Chris. You now know how Chris is feeling. Nothing new there, but it's always interesting to say the least.
Yeah, that's true. No, I mean, I'm enjoying all of God's many blessings, the life that He's allowed me to build, and the things that are in my life bring me a whole lot of joy. And so I'm very thankful. I just remain thankful and happy to be here on Duo Jive this fine evening.
Yes, sir. It is a fine evening, and I'll tell you what, it is getting later quicker, especially up here in Wyoming. The days are getting shorter,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
think we're on the brink. Yes, we're on the brink of the time change, which I thought we were going away with as a country. I guess not quite yet, but with the time change happening, I believe this weekend, it's going to get even shorter. I mean, I guess it gets brighter earlier in the day. Good, but I'm not a fan of 3 o'clock sunsets, to say.
In the afternoon.
But
Yep.
yeah, they're coming.
Those. Yep.
Winter's a
Yep. Well, and it's only for a time. I kind of enjoy it knowing that it's only here for a short time. And I know that when summer gets here, I'm going to really enjoy those long days. So,
Yes, it does make me have an appreciation for summer. That is for sure. Like summer, I look forward to it all winter because I'm definitely I like the warmer climates. I like the sun. So I don't know what I'm doing up here in Wyoming, but here we are, another day.
yeah. Yeah, it's really cool though, because, we have to assume based on scripture that God has a plan for our lives, regardless of where we are. Right.
Amen to that.
And Paul was the one I think that said, I've learned to be content no matter what state I am in. That is a fascinating statement for us and in 2025 to be able to embrace that kind of a statement, be that
That's
person.
something I need to live by.
And a lot of people don't know about it, right? But being content, no matter what state you are in, really is part of the reason why I am who I am today. Because I learned that scripture many, many years ago. I was a teenager, late teenager, probably 19 years old when I discovered it, and had that conversation with my youth pastor about it. And it was a fascinating conversation, and it really brought to light for me what it meant to be in a relationship with God, right? Which is first and foremost, that's right off the bat, it's contrary to man's ways, and then to grow into that space. But yeah, man, enjoying the fire out of it. And
Well,
we
that's
don't
good to
have
hear. I could definitely work on it, but I guess that comes with time and prayer, all that good stuff.
it does. It really does. Yep. So what happened this week? What did you experience? What's going
Well,
on?
a whole lot of work, a whole lot of work. If anyone's familiar with how can I put this? The oil industry and kind of that kind of whole job world,
Yep.
it can
It's a world.
sometimes fill up with a lot of hours.
Yep.
And
Yep.
let's just say I had more hours at work this week than I did at home, which is going to be nice later on. But right now, oof, man, it's just work, work, work.
You've really got to appreciate the nice little spike in your paycheck in order to make it worthwhile.
I guess that's why we do it. That's the main reason, which can be a bittersweet. I I need to figure out how to find something that I love doing. Not to say that I don't love doing this, but something that I'm more so passionate about, and it provides me a sustainable income. So if anyone out there is listening and you just so happen to be a person that figured out how to create your own business, I'd love some advice on that, on how to kind of create my own path, pave my own way financially without the help of anyone else.
Right on.
And that is quite the grind.
Right
But
on.
that's a
It
whole
is.
the whole thing in itself. I
Yep.
mean, that's a rabbit hole. How are you, Chris?
I was kind of interested in that rabbit hole, by the way. But it's now that I'm super stinking fan, we established that I am super stinking fantastic. I had a wonderful week at work. The people that I'm around are really good people, and this week at church, dude, man,
Did you try a new church or did you go to the same one?
I went to the same one, and if you remember, I went to this one that's 15 minutes away from me over in Strasburg, right outside of Denver, right? 2 weeks ago, or I guess almost 2 weeks ago from here, but yeah, a week and a half ago. And it was amazing, right? I enjoyed it. I talked about it last week. I went again this past Sunday and really enjoyed the fire out of it. The worship was spot on. It's not what I grew up in, because like I said, I grew up in a church, in churches that would spend 45 minutes every service in prayer and worship. Just an exciting place to be in God. But most churches nowadays don't do that. They're running these short services so that people will stick around for them and want to attend more frequently. And I
The
get
church that you went to, the church that you would grow up with, that was Pentecostal, correct?
correct. Yep. I grew up at a
Okay,
United
yeah. So
Pentecostal
anyone
church.
out there familiar with the Pentecostal way? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pentecostal church is very heavy in the worship, which is awesome. They've kind of got it down pat when it comes down to it, both pre-sermon and post-sermon,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not many
True.
churches compare. That's for sure.
No, you're right about that. The Assembly of God used to. So when I was a kid, there were churches that were like us, right? I knew that I was growing up in a church that was very Pentecostal, and everybody talked about what the United Pentecostal Church believed and how they believed it and what have you. And I knew what we believed and the differences. And people talked about the Assembly of God in certain parts of the country, kind of matching it. You don't see that anymore. Even in a lot of UPC churches that I've been to, because I've traveled all over the United States for work. I've been to a bunch of United Pentecostal churches looking to see what they're doing, and it's rare. It is rare that these churches are doing what we used to do. What we used to do,
That's interesting.
they used to admonish us from the pulpit to not waste our time singing a song, to not waste our time lifting our hands or doing anything like that if we weren't going to plug our heart into exalting God, to lifting Him up and really turning it into a vertical experience, right? You don't see that anymore. But yeah,
Even at a Pentecostal church, you're saying?
yeah, even in some United Pentecostal churches. Well, for example, sadly, many of these churches don't have a Wednesday night service. I want service on Tuesday night, Thursday night. Go ahead and have it on
You want
Friday night while
revival
we're at it.
every week.
I don't know about every night. The body grows tiresome, right? The mind grows tiresome. But being out here by myself, I don't have family with me, so I'm looking for those opportunities, especially. So when I get the opportunity there's a church here in Aurora, which is where my job site is, which is the east side of Denver. There's a church here that does a fantastic. I mean, they congregate to have a fantastic Wednesday night service. They have a time of worship, and then they dive into the Word, and I've enjoyed the fire out of it. But again, they're not doing what I expect or what I was raised up in and have grown to appreciate and love as far as church
You
is
have yet to
concerned.
find that still.
Well, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna. It's a different age. When I grew up in a
That it is.
church, it was the 1970s. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy just how different time is. And what's even funnier, not like to go back even further and stray away from what you were saying, but if you think about it, imagine what your dad would say to you in this scenario if you were to think about the 1930s or 1920 or
Yes.
1940s or something like that.
Yes. Yes. Well, okay, so that's kind of interesting that you bring that up, actually. So what I was experiencing, my dad told me, and my mom did too, that it was very much, almost identical to what they were raised in or what they were introduced to at a very, very, very young age, right?
That's
But
interesting.
the difference was when the church had just evolved. When my dad was like 5 years old, it had just evolved out of this dirt floor, brush arbor type experience for church services, right? They would get together, people would walk to church from 3, 4, 5 miles around, and they'd spend all day there on a Sunday. They'd worship, and they'd have the word, and then they'd dive into food, man. Kind of very much like the Amish do, still do. But they had evolved out of that into these very rustic, this very, very rustic building. I remember us as a church moving out of that church into a modern church building where they had carpet and padding on the pews and modern lighting, and not spotlights and all that stuff like they
A
have
little more
today.
formal.
Yeah, a little bit more,
Now it's
however you,
showy. It was formal. Now it's more showy, more presentation, putting on a show really. The goal is to not let it go too far into that now.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hear the complaints. Don't use fog machines and spotlights and strobes and all that stuff. And I get that people don't want to do that, but if I can create a show and bring about 500 people to visit us, in a year's time or more, a lot more, I'm going to do it. I'm
Yeah,
going to do
that's
it.
what I completely agree. It's okay to create a show as long as you don't take away from what you're trying to do, which
Yes,
is trying to bring people to the Lord and
yes.
let them grow a relationship with them and start a relationship with them. Talk about a tangent. Do you know that we haven't even introed into the podcast yet?
Consider that the introduction before the introduction. Then
Yeah, if you're new here, I swear it's not like that every time. But at the same
that's
time,
true.
when I introduce the podcast, you may not be surprised that we started off that way because the intro says it all.
Yes,
With that,
yes.
I mean, I guess we should
So
just go straight into it.
absolutely,
When you agree,
absolutely. So welcome.
all right. Yeah, welcome to this week's episode of Duo Jive. Once again, whether or not you're tuning in for the first time or you've listened to all 25 episodes, we're on episode 26. That's
Yes,
crazy.
yes.
By the
Yeah.
way, thank you for listening to those episodes if you have. Welcome
Amen.
to Wyoming's #1 podcast for
Well,
questionable advice, accidental wisdom, and deeply unnecessary storytelling.
that introduction, and especially that what do you call that line? The accidental wisdom and all of that. What is that? Is that, I guess that's kind of like a tag to who we are.
The intro?
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Our introduction.
Absolutely. So episode 26, and the
Yes.
spot to
Which
go to.
means we have 25 previous episodes. So if you're tuning in, like I said earlier, if you're tuning in for the first time, go ahead and make sure to check out our social medias, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, we're on all of them. We have a bunch of fun clips. That's actually going to be the best place to reach us if you want to get a hold of us and shoot us a comment, shoot us something as far as maybe future topics on the episode. We're always looking forward to hearing stuff on that or just insights on the episode on how to improve,
Right on,
but make sure
right on.
to check those out. Give us a like or a follow on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. All of the above, just go ahead and shoot us a like and follow. We'll greatly appreciate it so we can help grow our community on letting people understand our perspective when it comes to living in the world, I guess from a someone living in Wyoming slash a slightly more traditional perspective.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, well, by and
Interesting.
large, if you live in an urban area, one of the larger cities, like say for example Houston, and you listen to what we are all about, it's going to be about more rural stuff, right? By comparison,
But we
definitely.
still love to get out and go get,
Yes,
maybe something,
yeah.
jump into the hustle and bustle of city and what everyone else is doing. I personally enjoy that. Maybe not so much Chris. I might be speaking for him. But, anytime we can get out and do an adventure.
Well, no, no, no. I thoroughly enjoy getting out and adventuring. Is that a word? I do. I
Adventuring is a
thoroughly.
word.
Yeah, I enjoy it, even if it's a big city. I enjoy bigger cities a whole lot less than I used to because they've become a little bit more. Larger cities have become a little bit more dangerous, right? When I was a teenager, when I was your age, I'd go into a big city and not think twice about it. I mean, I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I never worried a lick about
Did you
what
know
was
your
going on.
neighbors?
Where I've lived, yes, I've always,
That's not
but
I feel like that's one of the biggest things that's different about today's society is not only do you, especially in like a neighborhood, maybe there's some neighborhoods out there, gated communities and such that still have a sense of safety that, may not be as common as it was in every aspect of neighborhoods back in the day. But, like you not only kind of feel nervous about leaving even your own home and your own neighborhood, but sometimes you don't even know who your neighbors are, which is crazy.
Well, that is absolutely true. I know who my neighbors are here in the RV park, and
Yes.
I
And
know who my
it helps that you have that older style, you grew up with that and you're familiar with that, but newer generations, my generation in particular, and so on and so forth, is probably even worse, younger than me. It's becoming less and less. You're more and more connected via social media and less connected via real life.
Yeah. It used to be that when you moved into a community, the community would all come over and knock on your door within a couple of days, right? And they would introduce themselves. And new homeowners would go out and knock on people's doors next to them to see where people lived, right? And meet people. That was very, very, very common. And strangely, there's a neighbor we have right across the street there in Wyoming that came over to do just that. When they moved in, they came over and knocked on our door and handed us a little tin full of chocolate chip cookies.
I will be your best friend if you do that with me. That's for sure. If I get
Okay.
any sort of treat, I'm all in. We're
Yeah.
friends right off the start.
Yeah. Well, that brings up another point. When I got to church this Sunday, a couple of people from work go to that church, which is how I found out about that church. And one of the ladies that had invited me from the very beginning, she was there with her husband, who I met the week before. But he kind of warmed up to me this week, from last week. He warmed up to me this week and encouraged her, I believe that's how the story went, to bring some of her homemade cinnamon rolls. Dude, man, dude. I mean, sometimes
I
just
can only imagine.
all you can say is dude. And she brought me this tin with, the cinnamon rolls about this thick, and it was coated. I mean, loaded with a little bit of caramel and sugar and what have you, so that it melted on it and made that glaze, right? And then she put on top of that a cream cheese or sour cream little icing dollop. It was like your taste buds died and went to heaven. And so, yeah, that's
It's got me thinking. I've been thinking pretty heavy on maybe making a fun Halloween recipe for this coming Friday, which is now the week. This is the week of Halloween 2025. You're coming up, so we're gonna be able to hang out with you and hang out with the fam. And I've been thinking about making a sweet treat of sorts for Halloween. I'm just debating on whether or not I'm gonna make something unhealthy or healthy. We have yet to see.
yep. Well, I'm always game for unhealthy. I mean, I don't have as strict of a diet as you do, although I should. But yeah, that's a hard one. But if it's on a Saturday, right? That's your cheat day. Well, if
Well,
does it?
I think I was gonna swap it up this week because of Halloween landing on a Friday and us all hanging out.
Yep,
I mean, hey,
yep, yep. That's
I get to choose the rules here, so I think I might just have to go and make it Friday instead of Saturday.
right on, right on, right on. Well, so when are you? So you're coming. I mean, I'm coming there actually for Halloween.
Yes.
And
Yep.
then you guys leave when to go to Texas?
Well, that's next week. We have our Texas trip. We're going down for another wedding. I know, I know. If you listen to the previous episodes, we literally just went a couple weeks ago. Going again. I can't complain because I love being able to get down to well, both Florida and Texas, both for
Yeah,
family and fun adventures. And we're
yeah,
going down for a wedding again. So we're gonna head down there, have a good time, but it's only for just a weekend. Go down there, get some sun, get see some family, have a
yeah,
good time, and then head
yep.
on back up. But we'll be coming your way Wednesday to
Okay,
Denver to fly out.
okay. Now you guys fly out Wednesday, so you'll come into town
Yes,
time for us to maybe grab a bite or just go to the airport. Which one?
we should. Yeah, I think we'll actually have enough time. We're gonna dip out a little early because of my schedule that I have going on. It's just easier to take off the whole day, so we'll dip out a little early so we can head down and see you for a little bit. So that's exciting. But that's for next week. In the meantime, we do have Halloween coming up, which is a bittersweet because Halloween is not in any way my favorite holiday. And
Mine
personally,
neither.
this is personally,
Yeah,
well, I mean, yeah, it's just not my forte. I'm definitely big into Thanksgiving or Christmas, all of the other holidays.
yeah.
Halloween is probably on the back end, but I am excited about being able to hang out with family and just have a good time for the season, which is fall. Fall's a fun season, being able to enjoy the cooler weather and the falling leaves and all that good stuff. That definitely falls in the realm of Halloween. And I'm very excited about that. So, especially
Right on.
because sweet treats are coming my way. And that's why I'm making Halloween a cheat day.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that's and sadly, that's what Halloween is all about, being unhealthy.
Hmm. Did you
Sugar.
try a
Oh,
new
and
dessert this week?
well, I got that dessert from the Lanes. That's what their last name is, Lane. I got that dessert from them. I still have that dessert, so I can't eat it all. I cannot eat it all. So yeah, the last thing in the world I'm going to do is go buy myself something else. But that dessert, my stars. It was pretty
Which
freaking.
was a cinnamon roll, correct?
It was, yep, it was a cinnamon roll, sweet roll, whatever you want to call it, with I think it was cream cheese, the icing dollop that she had on top, some cream cheese and some other thing,
Ooh,
some like
sounds
powdered
delicious.
sugar. Oh my goodness, that's putting it in my omelet.
That's been on my cheat. That's been well. That sounds amazing, especially the homemade aspect. But
Yes.
that's a cinnamon roll has been on my cheat day bucket list for quite a while now. So, which for the longest time it was getting a Cinnabon cinnamon roll, and I have yet to do that because there are such a limited amount up here. But maybe
Well,
I might have to
even
indulge.
in other places, they're not growing like they were. Cinnabon?
No, there yeah, there's a lot that sit inside of gas stations or they partner with, like truck stops and such, maybe airports, but standalone Cinnabons are pretty limited. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a mall.
Well, that's what I think of when I think of Cinnabon. But malls are going
Mhm.
out like crazy. Cinnabon seems to be, with the exception of its partnerships with truck stops, which it may be at Salvation. I don't know, but yeah, I haven't seen that many. Strangely, and I'm in Denver, and a lot of. But
Yeah,
good
they're
idea.
they're limited.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
But
So
I
you guys,
failed this week. I failed this week on trying a new dessert. Oh wait, I take that back. I did not fail. I tried something last minute as per thinking of what you tried last week. And if you haven't heard what we tried last week as far as a delicious dessert, you tried something that was familiar to this. If you guys want to know what it is, go check out that episode. But I ended up trying a more health conscious root beer float to where I got a diet Dr. Pepper and some Halo Top strawberry cheesecake ice cream and made myself a root beer float with it. The equivalent. A strawberry cheesecake Diet Dr. Pepper float.
that had to be kind of good, was it?
It was surprising. It was delicious.
It
The
sounds.
cheesecake wasn't overpowering, but it was light and it worked well with the Dr. Pepper. It was good. And oh yeah, it was Halo Top, so it was a healthier option than that of anything else, any
Okay.
normal ice cream.
All right. It was healthier in that it had fewer calories.
Yes, it had way less calories, less sugar, more protein, kind of in all
Yeah.
of the above
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah. But it was diet, and that's
Yes, that is I mean,
I guess that's something we need to have a little conversation about on in the podcast. The value
what is
of,
that?
well, is diet healthier? For
I
example,
completely think it is, yes.
well, and that is I'm just going to say it right out here. I mean, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. But I mean, because I've
Okay.
never, on a personal note, on a personal level, and things that I've seen, diet represents toxins and or ingredients that may not be healthy to the human body. I believe in going natural as much as possible. And I don't ever drink a diet drink, for example. And that is a whole nother conversation for another podcast, I'm sure.
I don't know, you're teasing me right now, and I get what you're saying, but I would have to agree on my end because the long-term effects of these ingredients that are put in diet sodas show to have less cancer-causing effects than sugar does, and you know what is in a normal soda? It is a hefty, hefty amount of sugar.
Oh
Sugar
yeah,
is actually
no
one
doubt.
of the highest rated cancer causers aside from diabetes, fat. If you just want to throw in fat, being fat is sugar is one of the highest issues. Lethargy. lethargy. I mean, the list can go
Absolutely.
on and on whenever it comes
Yeah,
to the side effects
absolutely.
and downsides with sugar
Yeah,
in comparison to the side effects and downsides to diet soda. Granted, whether you're doing diet or you're doing regular, it
sugar-free.
should all be done in
Yeah.
moderation. It should all be done to where you
Absolutely.
do it in moderation, whether it's once or twice every now and then. You don't make it your replacement to water by any
No,
means.
no.
That's probably the way I would look at it, or I mean, that's the way I'm explaining it.
Yep.
I kind of live wholeheartedly by that because of what I've learned over the past year with my weight loss and discovery through alternatives. Granted, it's always better to go natural. Always better. I mean, if you're talking to somebody that is truly at peak physical health, I'm talking the pinnacle of health in their body. They're a pro athlete. They're somebody that they use their body as a form, like they're a bodybuilder,
Career,
whatever
income.
in that realm
Yeah,
their
yeah.
career, those people don't even do diet sodas. One of the top things that they start you off whenever you start a curriculum with these people, if you pay them, is they say, "You're gonna get off of diet sodas and we're gonna put you on a meal plan." Because that makes things easy. You're focused on those meals, you're not tempted by anything else, and no sodas, including diet, strictly water. And why is that? Because not even those are healthy. They're healthier in comparison to what sugar puts in your body. But sorry, I could go on and on with that.
No, and it's
That's
fascinating. Probably one of the hardest things I ever came to terms with was the problems with sugar. What sugar does to the human body. It's horrible. So there's just sugar in everything, dude, and it's hard to get anything or do anything without sugar, you know?
That's true. That was one of the hardest things that started it off was trying to discover what a diet would look like without sugar and high carbs.
Yeah, wow. But no doubt the best thing that could have possibly happened to you when you started checking that out.
It is amazing the difference that removing those two ingredients can do, and then adding, a few other things like replacing them with protein and focusing on lower calorie options. That changes the game. It's kind of a blend of all of it, really, but that happens over time. Discovery and such, and passion. And understanding where you're headed because of it. But don't get me started on diet because it's a bittersweet relationship,
Yes, yes. Well, bittersweet, but very powerful in your life anyway. I mean,
which yes, yes, I agree. We are actually I'm dabbling into a little more diet today. Tiff and I are trying a fun Halloween themed diet float, but this time it's going to be Fanta, so it'll be orange like a pumpkin and
yeah.
we'll decorate it with such. And I made some homemade icing that is protein packed instead of sugar packed that I dyed orange to, add some flair to the ice cream float along with the Fanta, some vanilla ice cream. And so a little insight there. More ice
Wow.
cream float to come. Yeah, we're
Wow.
excited.
You need to document that.
I think so. I think you're right.
I am absolutely certain every one of our viewers, listeners should probably feel exactly the same way. We want to see what that is and how it was made.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely
look
doc
forward to that.
which, by
We'll
the way, was takes us into that whole you did your last episode of travel back to Wyoming after your vacation
Well, yes,
and
I
posted
talked
that?
about it briefly. Yeah, I talked about it briefly last week, but I finally posted it. It's finally out. It's definitely out now. So we're finally wrapped up with the Florida trip, which is a bittersweet end. It was fun. It was a blast being able to look back on all the memories and just it goes by so quick. So like I say, over and over again now, one piece of advice: capture, record, don't hesitate to not take advantage of what you have at your disposal in your pocket because those memories last forever and all it does is take a few seconds to do that. But yeah, last episode's out and there's new adventures to come, which is going to be interesting. This one won't pertain to Florida. This will be
Yeah.
more Wyoming, Colorado based.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Have you shared everything from the family trip? I know you shared some of the Montana
Nope,
trip.
nothing yet. That's a work in progress. I'm a little bit behind just because of work and all that, but that is to come.
Okay,
Just bear
okay,
with me.
okay. All right. Well, get on the stick, bro. You
I'm
know,
on it. I'm on it. I'll keep the grind don't stop. I'll
and
keep
then
on
we've
going.
got
Keep on
and
trucking.
then we've got Halloween coming up. I'm sure you're going to have much to document from that as well and share
Well,
with
maybe.
your audience.
It'll be family oriented, so I like to keep that personal. Fine with recording myself, but when it comes to other people, I respect that. And since we'll be with family, it might just be, spending it with family, enjoying it with family. We will see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if as far as your blogs or your what do you call them? Your accounts, TikTok and all of those things that you personally are a part of, not just Durojive, but your stuff is very entertaining. And I'm sure there are people out there just like me who enjoy seeing that stuff come and are interested in what you're celebrating. And you do have a lot of stuff to celebrate and are part of. So it's kind of intriguing. And I'm sure that somebody would really enjoy your stuff. Just saying.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
So as far as our listeners and viewers are concerned, I just plugged it a little bit for you so that you don't miss
Well,
out on the
thank you.
opportunities. Yeah, man.
I
Yep.
greatly appreciate it. I would say the same for you. I don't know if you want me to shout out your social media, but both Chris and I's social media are both tagged below. If you want to go and check on us, are both our personal accounts out. Yep, I'm no. Wow. Yep, I'm Noah, and I producer Chris or Noah Avery. Go check out those accounts. Those are our personals. If you haven't already, and make sure to check out the Duo Drive account as well.
Yes, please. But please be warned. My social media accounts are nothing like Noah's. I mean, I'm a very
We are very
political.
drastic. Yes, we are drastically different in the social media
Yes.
world.
Yes, yes. I've long viewed my platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or TikTok and Instagram and all of that, as a platform to share content about where we're at as a society, not as a world, but as a society, America, and largely that is what my social media accounts consist of, and it's controversial in some regards, but yeah. Otherwise, if you want to be entertained, now you definitely don't want to hit my account, hit Noah's, and that you will be entertained, no doubt about it.
Well,
I've
we'll
enjoyed it.
just have to see about Halloween, which is coming up here shortly.
Yep,
Speaking
yep,
of Halloween,
yes, sir.
did you know that Wyoming actually has some history when it comes to spooky stories that pertain to, I guess, Halloween time? I don't know if it's necessarily Halloween, but there's spooky stories that happen in Halloween.
Haunted lore.
Haunted lore, that is exactly it.
Yeah,
Especially pertaining to the roads of Wyoming, which can be long and exhausting.
really. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so what do you know?
Well, I know a few stories, one being almost like a campfire story. So get cozy with a blanket and get
Uh,
yourself a s'more
oh, there
because
you
this
go.
one actually takes place. This is one that starts in Wyoming. And of course, all of these are in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Sometimes the scariest things in Wyoming that's in the Wyoming road isn't the deer, it's something else lurking or
Okay.
on the
Well,
side of the road.
that's a little spooky.
Yep, we've all been there. Empty road past midnight. You start seeing things or someone that isn't there. You start questioning, what did I just see? Especially up here on these roads that can be very open, very dark, and very long. And there, you got these massive stretches that of highway, few street lights, and unique mix of beauty and creepiness at night. And one of the stories is about a hitchhiker, the ghost hitchhiker of Highway 789. This is in central Florida, or wow, central Wyoming. Classic Wyoming ghost tale said to appear between a town called Rollins and a town called Lander on a stretch called 789. It's often described as a woman in an old coat or a ranch hand holding a lantern. Drivers claim she vanishes when you slow down or appears in the rearview mirror after you pass. Local
Interesting.
truckers call her Lantern Lucy. It's possible it's said that she's looking for someone who never made it home through a blizzard. And those are half through the year. You're dealing with blizzards half of the year here in Wyoming. So if you're traveling in Wyoming, be cautious of that. How many of you guys have encountered something on a long road drive? What about you, Chris? You ever see something spooky?
Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because when you guys were younger, I don't know if you remember this, we were someplace and I saw somebody on the side of the road, and the way they had their hoodie over their head, it kind of spooked me. It really did. I don't get spooked easily, but my goodness, it spooked me. Do you
I think I
remember that?
remember you saying that. Yes, I do. I
Mhm.
think I remember you saying that
Yeah,
growing up
and
briefly, and I was like, "I'm not gonna linger on that story."
well, it's funny because when you're driving at night, okay, at night when you're driving, and you can be in a place where there are no streetlights. So the way to illuminate something is by driving past it with your headlights or aiming your headlights at whatever you're passing. And we were passing at just the right speed to where this guy was standing there just looking at us in the dark, in the pitch blackness. And so the headlights picked him up. And when I drove past, you just got that feeling of that chill that goes down your spine. Like, nope, I can't allow my family to be introduced to that, whatever that horror is, whatever he represents. Some people just have a look,
Yeah,
that
they just
look,
give off an aura that you know that they're not
yeah,
good vibes.
yeah, whether it's all evil, whether it's a spiritual thing or whether it's just somebody's no doubt messed up with spiritual stuff, but just wrapped up in evil. As a father, you don't want to allow your children to get exposed and your wife to get exposed to be exposed to something that could be a real hazard and turn into a real horror for a family. So naturally you're thinking about that the whole time. Well, every once in a while, when you get into these kind of situations, you see something like that, your brain goes into, protect mode, if you will.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what a father does, and I'm learning that all the more. Now, another question I have for you. I mean, it's probably pretty. I don't know how many people have heard of the story that I just spoke with Lantern Lucy and finding her on
Never
the
heard of it, by
Wyoming
the way.
roads. Yeah, I know this is
Never
an
heard.
interesting story to me. The one thing that I was familiar with, but just learned more on, was there is this creature called a jackalope. Have you ever heard of one of those?
Now, I have heard of jackalopes. Yes, absolutely.
And
But I mean,
those are pretty big in Wyoming too, but they're rare.
are they real?
That's the question. Are they real? It's a rabbit with
Without
antlers.
antlers. Yes.
Yes, half
Yes.
antelope basically.
Yes.
And that creature was born, that tale of the story of the jackalope was born in Douglas, Wyoming, which is pretty
Really?
crazy. That's something that I just
I
learned.
had no idea. I thought it was a Texas thing.
I guess not. Yeah, I guess this actually originated in Douglas, Wyoming. And the story goes on a little bit deeper into something that I didn't know about jackalopes that kind of spooked me a little bit. And it's actually about the fact that they are known, well, now, and have been seen or heard to mimic human voices, especially
No,
late at night around campfires.
no, 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 no. It can't be real.
I mean, the most common, if you want to test your theory, go outside around a lightning storm or something in the sort of the sorts when there's static in the air. A
Okay.
campfire, especially late at night, you can sit around the campfire, and if you start to sing songs, there's claims that you'll hear them mimicking you singing those songs. Especially down way back when in the cowboy days, cowboys were known to hear voices mimicking their songs around the campfires, and apparently those were the jackalopes.
That's nuts. Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Okay. Okay. So there's two things wrong with this. First, a jackalope being a rabbit with antlers. Come on, right? But then secondly, to have a human voice or be able to mimic a human voice, especially when it comes to singing, I mean, that's pretty tall. That is
Yeah, well,
really tall.
both questionable. I mean, you can't. The possibility is out there. I guess we're just gonna have to go out searching, go out in a lightning storm, sing a song around a campfire, and see if they start coming around. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. They are a tall tale. It's a tall tale, no pun intended.
That's kind of fast. I'd never heard that. Everybody knows about the jackalope
Hmm.
because of supposed pictures and supposed sightings and things that people say, but I've never seen one.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and all
I dare say I've witnessed one running, but I'm not 100% sure.
really?
No Lantern Lucy, but driving down the road, there were questionable times to where you look out in the distance and behind the moonlight on a hill, you just see this little tiny little rabbit, but it's got these mean old antlers on the top of its head, and it's like, is that real?
Sounds like a Nightmare Before Christmas character. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's as me personally, it's only a figment. It's not
A
something I've
tall
seen.
tale.
Yep. And I've seen, well, for all I know, I've never really, well, I guess there are things that I've never seen, so they remain a tall figment as well. But yeah, the jackalope's it's kind of up there. Anyway, that is something that you probably want to look for this time of year, I'm sure.
You always want to be on the lookout for a jackalope. Don't be looking out for Lantern Lucy though. I will say those are it. Those are my spooky stories for Halloween. My little Wyoming lore when it comes to creatures of the night here. And if you're out trick or treating, let's hope it's in the safe ambient light of the city streets in Wyoming and not out deep in the darkness because who knows what's lurking out there.
Well, with with Halloween fast approaching, that only adds more to what you have to look for, I'm sure.
Only be concerned whenever you start hearing singing behind you.
On that note, my friend Eddie Santiago and if he ever sees this, he's obviously still around. But he lives in Illinois, and we used to jog early in the morning, around 4 o'clock, 4:30 every morning. uh, I saw Rocky grab a bunch of raw eggs and drink them and then go out running, and put his hands in the air like victory and all that jazz. I had to do the same thing, right? And I was in
Mhm.
high school at that time of my life. But one time I didn't make it to run with Eddie. I don't know what the reason was or whatever, but he said he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to make sure we were together as a group because he went out by himself jogging. And it's one of those deals, and I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but when you're jogging by yourself and it's a dark area and you're alone and it's quiet, you kind of feel like sometimes, not always, but sometimes feel like there's someone behind you. And
Yeah, yeah, it feels like their footsteps are literally right behind
yes,
you,
yes.
following in your footsteps.
And that's what happened to him. It really spooked him. I remember hearing the story of him just taking off at a full sprint to get back to the house.
Yeah, but the problem is it matches your full sprint, which means it's still right behind you. There's no escaping at all with that sound until you get in your house and lock that door.
Yep. Yep, yep. And so for a while after that, we avoided the dark areas. We kept our jogging path, our route in areas where there were a lot of street lights because
Nice and bright.
yeah, we had to continue our jog, but didn't want to do it in the dark, real dark.
Nope, nope. I've encountered that one too many times whenever it comes to late night jogging and hearing something a little too close to you and nothing's there.
Yep. Yep. Well, for Eddie, I remember the story. He said that, it became a spiritual thing. He started pleading the name of Jesus over whatever it was, right? And if I remember the story, because it's been a long, long, long time since I was in high school, as you can imagine. But if I remember the story right, he attributes his safety to that experience in relationship with God.
Makes me wonder what he had attached to him. If it was something he was dealing with personally, or if that was something more in the realm of running past someone's house, if that's even possible, and
Well, I mean,
attaching himself.
now, what are your thoughts on spirits? I mean, literal
Well,
ghosts, spirit.
that if we had more than the next 5 minutes, I could definitely go deep into that, and we might actually have to continue that maybe into next week episode because that can go on whenever it comes to my thought on spirits. But a quick little thought would be, spirits are out there, but I think it's not just something that you encounter. You have to be willing to accept it initially.
Okay, so if you don't acknowledge them, they don't exist?
To a degree, yeah, to a
Fascinating.
degree. Yeah, 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 to a degree. Like, I'll leave that there.
Okay. Well, that's
We'll touch
fascinating.
back.
What's that?
We'll touch back on that.
Well, yeah, let's do because that's a really fascinating topic. And
What about
I
you?
mean,
Quick, short recap. What about you as far as spirits?
well, scripturally, there are spirits, right? There are plenty of spirits. We know that the adversary, our adversary, the devil, who is Satan, he was cast out of heaven with a third of the heavenly host. So that's a lot of demons. That's a lot. Did I mention that's a lot? It's a lot, right? So they're making their rounds, and I don't want to give them any credit they don't deserve. But they're here. They exist. There were at some point in time some of the sons of God, which I believe those angels probably were, mated with earthly women. So there's a lot of that junk going on. They exist. We know that they do. And I don't know how much they can do because I've never seen it. However, like for example, The Exorcist and all that junk. I think there's a lot of fiction in that. However, when I walk into a room, I do know that it's possible that there's a spirit or two or three or four or a couple dozen there that I wouldn't ever want to be friends with. You know what I'm saying? That may not have the best intentions in mind when it comes to myself or a family member, which is why I pray for my family often because I know the power of God in the name of Jesus has the power to overcome. And it's also why these things never have been a problem for me. Nonetheless, I've been on those late night jogs, early morning jogs where it was dark outside, and I let my imagination get the best of me, and thought I heard things, saw things. Been in an old house and thought I saw things. And who knows? Don't care. I'm fortunate,
Well, there you
you
have it.
know. Yeah, I'm fortunate that
I
as
do
a
agree
grown
with you, but
adult.
I'm not going to go too heavy into it just because I have such a short
Yeah,
amount of time I'm having to wrap up, but I do agree
that's
with you
true.
there. Whenever you said
Yeah,
spirits, it's you got to start off immediately thinking what do you mean by spirits? Are you talking like you said the exorcist demon type of spirits or more heavenly spirits? There's a kind of a variety there when it comes to exactly what do you the type that's going to move a lamp over whenever you're at home by yourself or the type that's going to attach itself.
yeah.
Anyways, more on that
Yeah,
later. More
that's
on
all a
that
waste,
here
and that
soon.
yeah, that's actually a waste to have to spend any time thinking about because spirits, I mean, they're not interested in that kind of stuff, right? They're not interested
No,
in moving.
no.
What benefit is it to them? They're out to seek and to destroy whom they may devour. So
Mhm.
when you have the Holy Ghost, and I've lived in the Holy Ghost, and I've lived in the bubble of the Holy Ghost my entire life, so I have always been protected, just like you guys have been protected. This is the reason why our family doesn't have a problem with that stupidity, that junk, that idiocy that comes with all of that. But some people allow themselves to spend time in it, and next thing you know, they're in over head.
See,
So
you
we
have to
talk.
be willing, you have to be accepting. That's exactly what I was kinda saying earlier.
Yes,
If you
yes,
accept it and kind of indulge into it, that's where it's going to start creeping in. Anyways, again, we'll bring it back up later. I
that's a
actually have
whole
to get out of
episode.
here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. You
Yep.
do.
Yep. It is. I agree, and we'll touch back, but I have to wrap up here quickly, just because I'm already heading out for the evening, so I got to do a few things
Right on,
before wrapping up. But
right on.
short, sweet, a little bit of Wyoming knowledge for you. Let us know your thoughts on if you would travel the Wyoming roads late at night. I know that they're not that scary, but had to add a little bit of spookiness for the week of Halloween. What about you, Chris? Anything to wrap up on or conclude?
Well, all the more. I mean, we've had some fun conversations here, and they really drives the point home all the more. Live for God.
Yes. Live for that is the core. That should be anyone's core whenever it comes to just living their life. Live for God. I'll continue with that by saying also live life to the fullest.
That's a wrap.